So how do you know this incredible location?
Well, I used to come here when I was a child, well, I say a child, in my teens. I'm originally from Wolverhampton, which is in the yonder, and I used to ride here when I was fit and healthy and come up here on my pedal bike, and that was my Sunday exercise. It was a bit of a trek, but it gave me a goal to aim for, because the domes you can see from where I used to live, like as a speck in the distance, and it became kind of a goal as I started more and more cycling, and then just thought, you know, I'll get there one day, and then I started doing it, and that's how I ended up here.
We're going to look back a little bit to your history and talk about how you first got interested in lighting and why. You know, what was it that sparked your imagination to go into lighting as a career?
I did sound briefly, and then we did lights. In the school hall there was a rank strand dimmer rack where the dimmers were actually mains, and you were just shoving these sliders up and down, and if you wanted to go to a full state you've got a plank of wood to push everything up. You know, that's what it was like. You know, it was 1950s gear, but we did, you know, I was a technician on the school productions.
What was your actual path to becoming a professional lighting practitioner?
Started out with a youth theatre run by a lady called Jane Ward, Central Youth Theatre in Wolverhampton, and they were great. You know, she was really, and still is, you know, she got an OBE for it, but and she really helped get people through into the business and doing stuff, mainly acting. She wasn't really into the technical side of it, although she has produced a few technical people, Tim Ratledge being one of them, but when he was there, he was should we say, he was treading the boards as a fine young actor, and we won't go into details, Tim?
I'm ready. I love you for saying that.
It moved on. We did shows at the Edinburgh Festival, and I did a lot of theatre stuff, and I got contacts through that. I ended up doing operas, and I did the Midsummer Opera Company. I worked with them, and a lot of quite big theatre shows as well. And I also worked with the Cancer Research Players in Wolverhampton, and they used to put on shows at Wolverhampton Grand Theatre as well. So I did I'd done a fair amount of theatre stuff. And then I decided I was going to go to college. I went to art college in Stourbridge, which was fantastic. And I thought I was going to pursue a career as a budding artist doing sculpture or fine art. But as it turned out, I was better at lighting, but to me that was just something I could do. I never really thought of it as a career. It was always just something I did at the weekend, you know. So yeah, no, I ended up on the lighting and production management course at Croydon College, which was basically a place to make contacts. You know, I think the concept then was more about, you know, people who knew nothing. It was giving them the basics, but there was a fair few of us there who already knew what we were doing, and those circles of people who already knew are the ones that I now know are still doing very well, thank you. So I left the theatre world and ended up doing a bit of local crewing with Show Force out in Edwin Shirley's yard, and we worked. I did some quite bizarre shows with them, including Scaff Crew and all sorts of weird things.
But again, that gave you a really nice broad experience, didn't it?
I think it's very important as a designer to understand every element of what you're trying to do. You know, there's no such thing as a sky hook. You've got to know how you're going to put it there. You've got to know how the guys who are plugging it in are going to plug it in. You know, Richard Gorrod taught me years ago that if you've got a smart repeater and it's got 6 outlets, only use 5, because you want to use one of them to power the repeater. Simple stuff like that. That, you know, you can't learn just by looking at a drawing or being taught. You need to know it by getting your hands dirty.
And let's talk a little bit about your work with Norman Cook, Fatboy Slim. You've worked with him for quite a long time now, haven't you? He's a long-term client. When did that project start, and what's he like to work with as an artist?
2008, which seems a very long time ago now, and we've covered a lot of miles together. In fact, I think excluding my parents, I've spent more birthdays with Norman than anybody else.
Is there a memorable birthday you've spent with him?
The weird one is that for some reason we've done it 3 times now, where we've had my birthday has been in the auditorium in Brisbane, Australia, and Bob on video always puts up the screen. There's always some message that either Norm has written or Bob's written. They pop it up on the screen saying happy birthday Abby. And the punters must, you know, if they've been more than once, they must be thinking, why does that come up every year?
Who's this Abbiss guy?
But yeah, they've done that a few times. That's yeah, that's quite fun. We had a long flight across Brazil once that involved 2 bottles of champagne flying into Chile in a private jet, and they all sang happy birthday to me. That was quite funny. I enjoyed that. It was one of those moments that you just go, oh my God, am I really here? Norm's lovely. Yeah, he's if I didn't say he was the best artist I've ever worked with, I think he'd kill me, but no, he's really cool.
Is he actually a good, you know, he's a good person?
He's a nice guy, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a funny world when you're touring with such small groups of people, because there is only like 4 of us on the road. There's a production manager, there's a tour manager, there's Norm, there's me, and then there's Bob the video guy, like the 5 of us.
How important, you mentioned video already, how important is working with video for a lighting designer?
If I'm designing a show where it's from the ground and the video is an element of it that's to be utilised as a background texture, as if you like wallpaper, then I enjoy doing that myself, and you know, I'll create something or move something into positions that will, you know, create that background. If you're in a situation like I am with Norm, with Bob, then they have a design process between the 2 of them, where Norm sometimes comes up with material, Bob quite often comes up with material, and the fluidity of that whole show means that we have to, it's hands-on, you know, there's not much pre-programming. Very rarely.
I mean, it's very improvised.
Oh yeah, the whole show is run on. We're kind of like the complete reverse of various other dance acts or big shows that run on rails and somebody presses go, as somebody presses every single button. So it's down to the fact that Norm just says, you know, we've got a few songs that we know we'll play, and we know which songs he'll play, but in what order and how he's going to mix them and how he's going to generate that flow to the show. It needs a live hand, because the live hand needs to understand if the audience don't look like they're responding, you don't want to light the audience, because you don't want the artist to see that they're maybe looking a bit glum, so you want him to pull it back a bit, and then you want the show to kind of build again and find its way. And you can sometimes do that with lighting, in that you can make the audience feel more comfortable. If you light them when they're not feeling comfortable, they will close up, and it will just exacerbate the situation. Whereas if you're doing a live show and you can feel that, you can just take it out a bit, make it a bit moodier, and it gives them a chance to find themselves again, and then, you know, another track will come in and it'll be great. And I digressed from talking about video. With Norm's show, the guiding hand of Bob Jarrock and his wonderful visuals work together, and we've gelled for so long that the structure of the show just ebbs and flows around both the video and the lights, and we've got cues that I know I cut out where the video does something, and it'll do something for like a split second that's just there for that one moment, and then it'll come back into lights and back into video, and we've just got so used to playing some of those tracks that they're just automatic. You know, your muscle memory is just there. It's lovely. It's a treat sometimes when you get some of those shows where you just bang on. It's really nice.
What do you most love about your work?
People and people. Happy people, working with a nice, happy environment with lots of people who are gelling and working well together.
Is there a show artist project that you dream about lighting that's on the bucket list?
I'd like to do some architectural stuff.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not into, say, necessarily a massive launch of some new bridge or building or something, although, you know, feel free to contact me if you want. I just something stationary. I've done odd bits occasionally that have been interesting, but it's not just about chucking colour up a surface to make it look pretty. You've got to understand. I mean, I've always been a bit of an architecture fan. I quite like some quite bold architecture around the world, and you look at it and you think, oh, if you put some colour up that way and then another bit that way, and you know that you don't, or not even colour, just the way you light it can really affect the strength of a building's facade, and I kind of like that sort of thing. I'd like to do that.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I've just got 2 sayings really. It's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. And smiles go miles.
And that's a really good place to leave it, I think.
Thank you very much.
Very apt sayings for life and for the industry.
Indeed.